Hey there, welcome back to 12 Days of Mobility and Strength. This is day 7, and today's session is very much balance involved, along with abdominals and mobility of the torso tissues and flexibility of the spine, because this is very much related to the movements of tennis ground strokes when you're going side to side, at least in an open stance type position. Well, it takes you a little bit through closed stance too. You don't have to be a tennis player to benefit from any of this stuff if you don't play. So keep that in mind, but maybe it will encourage you to play too, because it's a really wonderful sport. My subjective view, of course. So as always, please listen to your body. If something feels at all strange, if you feel like you're about to injure yourself, please stop, because I don't want you to do that. And I know you don't want you to do that. And but with all that said, if you want to make something harder, feel free to do that too. So join me, if you will, in our session today. So a little bit prop heavy, admittedly, but it's all for the benefit of our balance and coordination and strength and mobility and stability, because it checks off a lot of categories today. So you'll need 2 yoga blocks, 1 hand weight. In previous videos, I've used a lime green 5-pound hand weight, and now I'm using sort of a tangerine orange 8-pound hand weight. So I'm upgrading just a little bit. It's nice to change up the resistance, give your body new challenges. You'll also need a Theraband. I have one here that's 3 feet, though it used to be 6 before it snapped. And somehow it snapped perfectly into right down the middle. I must have been doing something pretty symmetrical. That's how in touch I am with my symmetry, or at least trying to find it. And then you'll also need something to support your knees. Being the collector, as you can see, as you do a background check, quote unquote, you can see I am a collector of a lot of fitness props. Among them, this knee pad by I should know this, by Airex. Very good company, make a lot of good, comfortable things. Used a lot in physical therapy, I think. I'm not a physical therapist, but I'm happy to use things that they use. So we'll use that to support the knees. If you don't have one of these, obviously it's not a very common prop. You can certainly use some pillows built up or fold up some yoga mats, whatever you need to do to support your knees. And you won't, because we will be doing things on a slight gradient with at least one of the exercises we'll do today. So let's get into it. We'll start off. You don't need the blocks or the weight yet, so I'm just going to put those to the side for the time being. You will need your Theraband. Now, if you don't have a Theraband, because I realize maybe this is not such a common prop to have, you could also grab a belt or a yoga strap or a dog leash. Any of those should work just fine. But the nice thing about using a piece of elastic is that you get that gradual increase of intensity the farther apart your hands go. So for this knee-based torso accordion with the Theraband, you'll need your knee support. So since it's an accordion, we have to act accordionly. Sorry. It's a terrible affliction. I call it a blurse. It's both a blessing and a curse to have inherited the corny joke gene, because both of my parents got it too. So depending on the amount of resistance you want to create with this, you can have, pretty wide grip on this, or double it up a little bit. So I'm looking for quite a bit more intensity, so I'm going to double it up here. But you're just going for something where your hands could be about shoulder width, maybe a little bit wider, because you do want a little bit of room, leeway to pull on it too. So you can have your palms facing forward. That's probably your instinctive go-to position. But technically, for more stability, the complementary position to shoulder flexion for stability is external rotation. So to create that for this position, you could go into a supinated forearm position, i.e. where your palms are facing back. So we'll do that. So I'm holding my strap overhead, or my band overhead, pulling on it a little bit, and then you can start to move your whole torso and your lower body to the knees like an accordion. So you can pull on the strap a little bit more. I believe that works the rhomboids, among other muscles, which help to retract the scapula. Though I am trying to wrap my shoulder blades around toward my armpits a little bit here too. Now there's also an option you could do with this where you could integrate a little bit more balance work. So you can do a little bit of, as you lean to the right, I'm not mirroring you here by the way, because I'll mix up my rights and lefts if I do. As you're leaning to the right, you can elevate, whoops, see I'm already losing my balance. Your right knee, technically I'm going into a little bit of external rotation when I lift the knee. But if I wanted to go into pure hip abduction, I could take the leg out to the side and lift the foot. But we can stick with that first version. See, I'm losing my balance all over the place here. Going back and forth like that. Just doing a little pivot. You know, like that scene from Friends. Pivot, pivot with, not with a sofa this time, around a staircase, but with your foot on your carpeted floor, if you have one like I do, or on your wood floor or marble floor, something like that. And then if you want to last several rounds, we can go for the full hip abduction, which is a lot harder. Whew, my arms are getting a little fatigued from doing this too. Whew. I'm starting to lose a little bit of my precision here, which would be an indicator of getting fatigued. So before I look like I'm flopping around and not being a good demonstration for you, I'm going to cease that exercise. Which brings us to our next one. So this is, I've tried to figure out new ways to work with this exercise, but it's something, I'll actually keep my knee pad where it is because we'll use that again in a few minutes for something else. So actually, you know what, I lied. I am going to move it because it will need to be a little farther back. So this is something based on an exercise that I learned nearly 20 years ago at the Saddlebrook Resort, a little north of Tampa, Florida, in the town of Wesley Chapel. So it's a way to kind of get your groove and find your timing in your ground strokes. So I've called this the Saddlebrook Infinity exercise. So you take your feet apart, you know, about 2.5 or 3 feet. It's going to be a little bit different for every person. Again, you don't need to be a tennis player to get some benefit out of this. This is probably, even if I'm not playing tennis, something I really like to do just to kind of get coordination going in my body, to really turn on proprioception, the mind-body integration, the feeling of where my body is in space, feeling the weight transfer over here, and then the weight transfer over here. You could see, depending on how much of a wind-up you might do with your ground strokes, you'll do this big rotation too. But I'm staying in this, primarily what's called this open stance, not where the traditional position of having feet kind of pointing one way and then you twist around the other way, right? And I also was using the block just as an initial prop of minimal weight to start to get a feel for the movement here. Then you could upgrade that to a hand weight. So I've just gone from something that probably weighs maybe a pound at most to something that now weighs 8 pounds. So I hope there's enough contrast between my sort of salmon-colored shirt and my orange weight. If not, let me know in the comments section, and then I'll try to give you indicators of what I'm doing. Excuse me. So going back to the same thing. So now we were doing a lot of pulling with the strap. So here's a pushing opportunity. You can push into the ends of the weight as you do this. You can create a little bend in your knees. It almost looks like you're going into the horse stance in martial arts. Forgive me, martial artists, I'm no expert in that, but you know, this maybe looks vaguely something like the the horse stance. So you can move, as we were moving a moment ago. You might want to slow down your pace a little bit so you can truly feel, again, the weight transfer and the additional load that your body's having to carry. In fact, if I move quite slowly and start to push my hands into the weight, it actually feels very much like one heck of an abdominal exercise. I'm pushing into the weight like I'm trying to crush a beer can, frankly. Then go in reverse. You wouldn't necessarily swing from high to low in tennis unless you're at the net trying to hit an overhead, I suppose. But just so your body can realize, hey, there's more than one way of doing things. You can move around like that. Then, to further complicate things, hopefully not, or to make them more interesting at least, we'll do this. So here's our set. Actually, I just messed up my setup. So I have my knee pad in the center, and then I have each of the yoga blocks a little bit in front of and spread a little bit wider than the knee pad. So please, this is really where we get into the disclaimer section. If you are at all, well, I should say, if you are highly uncoordinated and unaware of really feeling your body, feeling what's happening, feeling every muscle, every twist, every extension, every flexion, anything you can think of involved in feeling where your body is in space, you may want to just watch me for a second and then, rewind however long it takes for me to explain this. So we're doing the same exercise, that tennis ground stroke warm-up, i.e. the Saddlebrook infinity exercise, since it kind of looks like we're moving through an infinity pattern. Ooh, 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 like that. So for this, here's where the coordination really comes into play. Excuse me. And I may make further adjustments as I go here. So let me show you. You can start out as you were doing this before, just doing a little weight transfer. I actually have my feet a little bit closer than they were a second ago to make, to account for what will happen in our next move, which is this. As you are moving your arms around, getting this groove going, here we go. So as you are swinging your weight back and down to the right, you can step onto the block with your left foot, and then as you're swinging the weight down into the left, you step into the block with your right foot, and then you step back off of it with the left foot, and then back off of it with the right foot, and then back on, back off, on, off, on, off, on, off. Then take it down to the knee pad. So this will take you obviously out of the bit of hip flexion you were in a second ago. So this will be targeting, a little more gluteal work here as you go. So squeeze your buttocks, and I believe a popular way of, speaking of doing stuff on your knees in tennis, I know some tennis coaches too, right, as a means of trying to improve the serve, and I think the overhead snap, which we're not covering here, but they do have tennis students, tennis participants try to serve on their knees. I've done that a few times before. It's tough, but it's to help you get that topspin. Whole nother subject though. So let's go back to the subject at hand, which is this infinity motion again. It should feel a little bit different on your knees. You can, I think we've been swinging enough where you can probably make it a little more like it might be in tennis. You know, get a little more loose with it here. And I actually start to feel that a little bit more in my obliques. But then here comes the coordination part, if this isn't challenging enough. So I'm going to slow it down so I can really focus here, because that's important for this denouement of this exercise. So I'm swinging around to the right, then stepping my left foot onto the block, and then standing, stepping my right foot onto the block, and then stepping off of the block with the left foot, and then off the block with the right foot. Then back onto the left block, then back onto the right block. Tricky here, left knee down to the mat, right knee down to the mat. And then left foot to the block, right foot to the block, left foot off the block, right foot off the block. Now let's see if we can do this with the arms going the other way. Like you would hit an overhead. That was a very bad example of an overhead, but changing the direction of the infinity pattern this time. So it might take me a second to get my coordination going too. So here we go. So go down to the left, and then down to the right, and then left knee down, and right knee down, then left foot on the block, right foot on the block, left foot on the floor, right foot on the floor. So I believe we started with the left foot before, so let's do this with the right side. I hope it works out. We'll see. I'm just, no editing here. I'm keeping this as real as I can. All right. So, all right, let me get my groove going here. Yep, so right foot on the block, left foot on the block, right knee down, left knee down. Right foot on the block, left foot on the block. Oops, sorry. See, right foot down, left foot down. I messed it up there. Whew. And then one more time. Right foot on the block, left foot on the block, right knee down, left knee down, right foot forward, left foot forward, right knee down, or sorry, right foot down, left foot down, and then you're done. So I hope that was interesting for you, and that you, maybe if you were quite maladroit, quite uncoordinated before, then you can feel like you're a little bit more so now. If you enjoyed this video, I invite you to like and subscribe. Like the video, subscribe to my channel, and comment in the comment section if you could. If you want to find out other places where you can see other things that I post, sometimes fitness related, sometimes foreign language related, sometimes travel related, check the description box where I have all the pertinent links. So, I'm a little breathless from that. Hopefully you are too, in a good way. I'm getting all choked up about all this great exercise. So, thanks for participating, or maybe just watching while drinking your cocktail, and I'll see you next time.